Oh, hi kids! I'm Larry the Cucumber. If you're like me, then you love to draw. And chances are, even if you're not like me, you'll love to draw. But one thing's for sure, if you love to draw, you love to draw me. That's why I, in cooperation with the Society for the Promotion of Artistic Rendering of Fruits and Vegetables, or SPARFV, have teamed up to bring you How to Draw Me, How to Draw Me, How to Draw Me. And now, to lead you through the step-by-step method for drawing me is the president of SPARFV, Mr. Tim Hodge, coming to us live via real-time video link. Say hi to the kids, Tim.
Larry, I'm not the president of SPARF. I'm an artist here, Big Idea.
That's SPARFV.
SPARFV.
That's better. Well, Tim, since it always helps with the credibility thing artistically to be teamed up with an artistic society, I started SPARFV and made you the president.
Well, gee, thanks.
You're welcome.
Well then, what do you say we get started?
Whatever you say, Mr. President.
Thanks, Larry. Hi, kids. Well, my very first act as president of SPARF, SPARFV, is to show you all how to draw some of the VeggieTales characters. You'll also be learning some drawing techniques from some of the other very talented artists here at Big Idea. Hey, Larry, you gonna stick around and draw with us?
You bet, Tim. What do I gotta do?
I'm glad you asked. I was just getting ready to tell all the kids at home just what they're gonna need.
Great.
Well, first of all, you're going to need some paper to draw on. Now, nothing too small or too slick, just some paper from your printer could work fine, or you could go to an art store and get a nice art pad. And of course, next you'll need a pencil. You don't need anything fancy, just a good pencil that draws nice and dark. You got that, Larry?
Got it.
Great. Well, we're going to start off today doing something real simple, but he's one of the most popular veggies around. In fact, he's been around since the very first episode, and he's one of the nicest, smartest, best-looking tomatoes you're ever going to meet.
But
don't worry, Larry. We're going to draw you soon enough. Now, you all know Bob, I'm sure, and we've seen him with a lot of different expressions. And since he doesn't have hands or even a body, most of his expressions come through his eyes. All right? So let's get started. Okay. Like I said, Bob's just basically a circle. So we're going to start with one big circle here right in the middle of the page. And like always, draw kind of light because we're not going to use all these lines later. Now, he's not a perfect circle. If he was, he'd be kind of boring. In fact, if it's a little bit flattened out on the sides and the top, not quite an oval, just kind of a flattened circle. In fact, even if it looks a little lopsided, but that's intentional. That gives him a little personality. And I'm going to draw him straight on, straight looking at you. It'll be a little bit easier to start off since he's our first one. Now, Bob has, like everybody else, two eyes right here in the middle. Come down about halfway. So about halfway through this circle, that's where his eyes are going to sit. And they're like two big egg shapes. We're going to make Bob really happy today. Usually he's a little uptight about something, but he's in a good mood. And right in the middle, before we get too many lines in here, let's put his nose. His nose is almost right in the center. See, if I measure it halfway from side to side and top to bottom, his nose is right there. And inside his nose is almost a perfect circle. There. See that? Okay. Let's put his eyelids in, because they give him a lot of personality, a lot of expression. Up near the top is kind of his eyelid. From the top of his eye here, it's almost like a moon shape on its side. See that? That crescent shape there. And the same on this one, a little bit lower. Let's not make it too even. Yeah. And I'm putting it a little bit darker on this bottom side. Kind of creates a little bit of shadow, because you know Bob has that little ridge where the thickness of his eyelids show. And I usually don't darken this line between his eyes too much. Let's go ahead and draw the sides of his eyes. And today I'm not going to draw his bottom eyelids because I want his eyes to be open really wide. There. And right in the middle, not right in the center of his eye, just a little bit off center. Let's draw kind of an oval shape for one pupil, just like that. And again, not quite in the center of this circle, but a little off to the side. Draw another oval shape. Sometimes I've found if you put him right in the middle, it doesn't look like he's looking right at you. It looks like he's kind of staring off behind you. So I'm going to put them just a little bit together. I think it makes them look better. Now let's draw circles inside these circles, and these are the highlights, where if a light comes down and hits your eye, it gets a little shiny in one spot. So you leave that part white, and you color in everything else. Yeah. Gotta beef up that line around there. Now Bob's eyes look kind of happy, but he still doesn't have his mouth yet. So let's put his mouth here. He's gonna have a big smile, big toothy grin. This big, like a very shallow U shape. Just a curved line. Make it go up to almost equal with his eyes there. Don't go up too far behind, because Bob doesn't usually open his mouth that wide. And then down below it, another U shape. So again, this whole thing looks like a moon sitting on its side. Yeah. And his line for his teeth comes just almost a perfectly straight line right across there. Not too dark. It looks better if it's a little bit lighter. But you can darken all these other lines that you want to keep. And all the extra construction lines, they kind of fade in the background after a while. Now, that's not all of Bob. Of course, Bob has one more thing. I'm going to darken up his body here. He's got his little stem and leaf on top. If he's looking right at you, it's a little bit behind his head, so we just see just a little bit of it. So I draw these little shapes here. I don't know quite what you call those shapes. Good, about 3 of them should work. These little kind of U shapes on their sides. Should be little leaves. You can even make it curl up a little bit on the side if you want. And then right in the middle, a little stem. It's kind of like just 3 lines. 1, 2, 3, just like that. I'm just going to beef up this line around his body a little bit. Now I've got the line right where I want it. And underneath it, to make it look like he's sitting on something, you can put a little shadow. I just draw this little oval. So if you ever notice a ball or a circle would cast a shadow that looks like an oval here. So let's draw this oval underneath him, how it wraps behind his body here and comes out the other side. And then very lightly with the side of your pencil, not as dark as you did the eyes, because this isn't a very dark shadow. Just kind of shade it in. Might have to go a little slower than I am, because I've had lots of practice. And there you have it, a very happy Bob the Tomato. Everybody do real well? Yeah. You have fun, yeah? How about you, Larry? How'd yours turn out?
You're gonna laugh.
Oh, no, we're not. We're not gonna laugh, are we? Oh, come on, Larry, show us.
How to draw me, how to draw me, hey, how to draw me.
That's interesting, Larry. A tooth's a real nice touch.
It makes him look rather handsome and dashing, doesn't it?
To say the least. Now, next up, kids, we're going to draw another character based on circles, Madame Blueberry. Now, Madame Blueberry is similar in size and shape to Bob, but she's got a bunch of other stuff to draw too. She's got long hair, she's got eyelashes, and she always has a lot of accessories, which kind of makes her fun to draw. Okay, let's get started. Like I said, she's a circle too. Let's start off with a nice big circle on the page, not too small. She kind of gets lost, and always draw light so you can cover up lines later you don't need. Now, she's not a perfect circle, just like Bob. In fact, I made her a little wider on the bottom here. And right in the middle, I'm going to draw real light lines. It kind of tells me right where the middle of her head is. But she's got big egg-shaped eyes, just like Bob did. And her nose is a lot smaller. She's got a very dainty little nose, just like that. Now, like I said, she has eyelashes, long eyelashes, and remember in the first show with Madame Blueberry, she's always a little bored with life. Let's give her an expression that's just a little bit bored. Right about halfway in the middle of her eye here, I'm going to put her eyelashes in. Just this little S curve. See that? How it goes up near the center, and then when we get to the side, it just kind of goes off. You only have to really draw one eyelash, one big thick one. And the same thing on this side. Just like that. Okay. There. Now when I'm going back over the shape of her eyes here, you see I'm making one just a little bit taller than the other. That's why you don't want to do dark lines first. If you want to change your mind later, it's okay. It's always good to make things a little uneven. Now for her pupils, we're not going to put them down here in this open white space because we said she's a little bored. So we're going to make these kind of half circles that rest right under her eyelashes. See? She looks bored already because she hasn't learned her lesson yet. And like always, we leave little highlights in the eyes. Sometimes if you're drawing real small, you don't have room to leave highlights. That's okay. But I like to. It adds a little personality there. Okay. Yeah, she gets a lot of expression in her eyes there, doesn't she? And Madame Blueberry always has this little mole off to the side. A little beauty mark, just like that. Okay, and she's also one of the few characters that actually have lips. So we're going to draw about halfway down between her nose and the bottom of this circle. Just put a little line there. This is going to be her mouth line. This isn't the top of her lip. This is just actual the mouth. And it's kind of an M. You see that? Or it looks like a seagull flying off. All right? And then we're going to put in her top lip, which is like a taller M. And her lower lip is almost just like a big U shape. I'm going to come in just on the inside of that M, not all the way to the edge. And draw a nice big U shape. See, she's not quite happy, not quite mad, just kind of bored. Okay, now, obviously she looks a little bald right now. Nothing wrong with bald, but we're going to put a little hair on her. Okay, off to the side here, she's got a very soft curve. This is going to be her wig, because she wears different color wigs in the show. She goes from brown hair to blonde hair. She has to have everything, including wigs. It's like a big, it's not a perfect curve this way. I curve under and then over. I like to put a little line in the middle here to show the hair parting a little bit at the end of the curl. I'm not going to draw, she's going to have a hat. So let's go to the other side and draw her hair. Just inside the circle line, her hair comes out, and it's going to curl out on that side. Make it a little different from one side to the other. There. Nice little flip on the edge. Everybody following along okay? All right. Now our hat is rather tall, so I hope you haven't drawn too near the top of the page. We're going to draw an almost straight line across there. Almost straight. It's just a little bit of a curve. Make her hair tuck up underneath that. Our hat's going to be kind of tall, so follow this curve off the hair. Up. And bring it down on this side, curving down, so it's a little taller on this side than over here. And then, it's not going to be the same. It's going to kind of tuck around behind her. She's got this big, tall, floppy, very stylish, fashionably sensible hat. Like I said, she's always got accessories, so we're going to put this jewel right here. Just a few straight lines, kind of like a stop sign, only stretched out a little. See that? It's got all these, got a point on top, two straight lines down, and then a point on the bottom. And then if you can do another one inside, it's a little tricky. Take your time with it. There's a point on the top, two straight lines down, and a point on the bottom like that. And then you can connect the points like that. It makes a very sparkly jewel. Okay, she also, other accessories, she wears little earrings, so we're putting like a little pearl on this side, where her ear would be if she had them. And another one over here. There you go. Now, Madame Blueberry doesn't sit on just flat on the ground usually, like Bob or Larry do. She's always wearing something kind of very fancy. So she's got this big boa, this big kind of a fake fur thing that wraps around her. About where the earring is, going to be a big round shape, sideways U that comes around. And then at the very end, let it curl down just a little bit. Almost in the middle. If you go a little past the middle, it might be even better. And right here, over the line of her body, because she's sitting inside it, it goes in front of her. Another kind of sideways S curve, past her mouth and down. That's just the end of that little fur thing she's sitting in. It's fake fur, though. Now it comes out the other side, and you want to make sure it looks like one of the like it's the same piece, like it wraps around her. So you don't want to start it over here, that's too high, or here it's too low. You kind of have to imagine this line right here, how it wraps behind her. Imagine it going all the way across and coming out the other side. So on mine, I'm putting it just kind of coming out behind the hair where the earring is. And this one, another big, nice big curve that comes right behind that end. And then right where her earring is, I'm gonna, see that line extends there? It helps it look like it's wrapped around her a little bit more. See? Right under her mouth, just let it curve down so it's tucked right in behind the front side. There you go. That wasn't so hard now, was it? Basically just a circle, lots of accessories. That was Madame Blueberry. Kind of fun, huh?
Oh, I get it. Circles with accessories. Where is that thing? I just used it yesterday. I know it's here somewhere. Sorry. There it is. Got it. How's this? You gonna draw me now? Why is everything upside down?
Nice try, Larry. It's not the kind of circles I'm talking about. Come back later when we do ovals. Well, this time, I'm going to let my friend Greg Harden show us how to draw the little monsters from the very first VeggieTales show. Now, remember how these little guys had Junior really, really worried until he remembered that God was watching out for him. Okay, when you watch Greg, notice how he uses a single line. He's very confident with how he draws. And I want you to try different things and find out what works best for you. All right? Here's Greg.
So the first guy, you're going to draw a circle, and you'll draw the first eye, and the second eye you're going to draw behind it. And this guy doesn't even have a nose. And I'm going to have him make him looking this way, so draw his pupils and his mouth. And then he has a mohawk, this blue mohawk. So make it kind of come in front just a little bit. And it's gonna like wrap around back here behind his head. Kind of like that. Second guy, draw another circle. And he has a nose, but we'll draw the eyes first. And his nose is a little wider. And I'm gonna have him looking this way too. Draw his eyelids. And his smile. And this guy has got little pink spots all over him. Some of them I'm drawing so they're behind him, and some of them I'm drawing in front. Like this one would be in front, and this one's behind. Okay, and then the third one, draw another ball, and we'll draw him from the front this time, so we'll put his nose right there in the middle, and his egg-shaped eyes. Just for fun, I'm gonna make him cross-eyed. give him kind of a silly look. And he's got spikes all over him. So we'll draw some in front and some in back. And if you want, you can go ahead and color in, you can darken into their eyes. So now just remember to color in the eyes if you want to. And you got the monsters from Junior's bedroom.
Wow, looks like you guys were having fun. Now we're going to take these circles we've been drawing and stretch them into ovals and build on what we've learned so far. And Larry, since you're an oval,
How to draw me, how to draw me, how to draw me.
Larry, this would be a good time to draw you. Huh. Wonder where he went. Well, we need to move along though. So why don't we put a couple of ovals together to form kind of a pear shape? I'll show you what I mean. One of my favorite veggie characters is Mr. Lunt. Now, he's not just a circle. He's wider in some parts and skinnier in others. And it's kind of easy because he doesn't have any eyes, but that makes him a little harder too to show his emotion. Now, let's follow along as Tom Owens takes us through how to draw Mr. Lunt.
Today we're going to draw Mr. Lunt from the Esther show. Mr. Lunt is a gourd, so he's kind of oval shaped at the top, and then his bottom is big and round. He's a decorative gourd. Sort of where these two lines come to, where this break is on either side, that's sort of where his center is. So we'll draw a line through that and place his nose, this big round oval nose, on there. Under his nose, he's got two halves of a mustache that are real long and pointy. And then just draw his mouth under there, just a little bit open so that we see his teeth in there. In this episode, he wears a big hat, so where that hat sits is just above the center line, and the brim comes down right to his nose. So this is where the hat wraps around the head, and then indicate that the hat comes right down to his nose, and draw the brim wrapping around his head so that you see the underside of the hat here, and then you see actually a little bit of the top of the hat over the brim just above his nose. And then we'll just do this kind of box shape around the top of his head, a little bit bigger than his head. And the hat brim on this goes almost all the way to the top. It's really a wide one. We'll darken it in. Then he's wearing a coat, so we'll draw that coming around his neckline and bring it right down to this point in the center. Then he's got a tie that he wears. So we see the knot and just the top of the tie under this neckline. So there's like a shirt under here. And then draw the collar. It's really wide. Shaped collar that hangs off a little bit to the side here. And then we'll draw that, follow the contour of his body down almost all the way to the bottom, and then flatten it off so that we see a little bit of his body out from underneath the coat. And the coat is striped, so we'll put stripes on the collars. And then down the front of the jacket. And make sure all the stripes follow the shape. As you go around to this side, they're round like this side, then they get a little straight through the center, and then start to follow the roundness on this side as well, so they all feel like they're going around his body. The jacket is double-breasted, so he's got 4 buttons at the front, and that's Mr. Lunt.
Now let's try drawing some guys a little bit harder. We're going to take a look at drawing the Gourd Brothers, Jimmy and Jerry. Now, Jimmy and Jerry look a lot alike, so the trick is to really play up their differences. And remember to make them look hungry because their hobby's eating. All right, you ready, everybody? Let's draw. Now you might want to turn your paper sideways because they're going to be side to side, but I'm going to keep mine like this. Let's start off with Jimmy over here on our left side. And he's going to be a pear shape. He's a gourd, but he's kind of pear shaped. Nice thing about gourds, they come in just about every shape imaginable, so you can make just about any shape you want. So he's kind of, his head is a upside down U shape. This again, draw light, always draw light at first. And he gets really wide on the bottom half. Just like that. And leave enough room over here, because that's where we're going to put his brother, Jerry. I get him mixed up a lot. Maybe you do too. But Jimmy's the short one. And his eyes, we're going to make him turn just a little bit. So we're not going to put his eyes right in the front like we've been doing. We're going to put one eye almost right in the center of his head because it's turned, and the other eye right beside it. Just like that. And his nose is a lot wider than what we've been doing on some of the other characters, like Bob. Bob's got a nose that's almost perfectly round. And Jimmy's is a little wider, kind of a squashed out circle. See that? And his pupils, like I said, I'm going to put his brother over here, so I'm going to make him looking up in that direction. Most of the others, we've had him looking right at you, but we're going to put his eyes over to the side here. So draw a little oval right up next to the edge, not right in the middle, because he's going to be looking up. And then another little oval in the same place on the other eye. Make them almost the same size. There, just like that, see? And again, color it in. Leave a little highlight for the light to be hitting it. There. Now I always draw the highlights, it seems like on one side. It doesn't matter which side of the eye you draw them on, just make sure it's on the same eye because it's a reflection and that means the light is coming from the same direction on both eyes. Now Jimmy's usually pretty happy because right now he's thinking about lunch. So we're going to draw this nice little shallow U shape right there. Just a little bit thick. And some of the things that make the mouths look better on veggies, if you can pull this off, it's kind of tricky. Make the line a little thicker on the ends than it is in the middle. You see how it's a little darker? I don't know, just a little bit thicker. There, it gives them a little more personality. Now I can go back and darken some of those other lines we like. Put his eyelids in, just like that. And something we don't want to forget is he's got a stem on top. And right off his head curves down like that, the stem will curve the other way. Has a little curve on top like that. And then curves back the other way. Now I made it pointing off to the side. That really helps makes it look like his head is turned. There. And darken around there and put a couple little light lines on there to give it that ridged limb quality. There. We can darken his body up around here. There. And right beside him, of course, is going to be his brother Jerry. Now, Jerry's a little bit taller, and it's easy to tell them apart when we're doing in color, but today we're just drawing lines. So a little bit taller, just a little bit taller than Jimmy's stem. Come over here and just go a little bit up and draw the top of Jerry's head. Again, it's like an upside down U, a little taller than Jimmy's. And he gets wider near the bottom, not quite as wide as his brother. But make sure you draw them on the same level because they're standing right beside each other. Now, if we wanted to get real tricky and put one of them standing in front, we would draw him lower and maybe bigger to show he's closer. But let's stay fairly simple right now. Put him right beside on the same line. Don't draw the line under there, by the way. We're going to do something else later. There. There, that's a Jerry shape if I ever saw one. kind of an upside down light bulb. Okay, again, he's got eyes. We're going to make his eyes, this is a little tricky. You're going to make them tilting back just a little bit. See, those ovals are just kind of tilting back. Again, one's in front of the other, perfectly beside his, and his nose is a lot more round than his brother's. See, his is almost a circle. Now his eyes will be looking a little bit down. See, Jimmy's were looking up, Jerry's will be looking down at his brother. So put his pupils down the lower part. And this one will be touching his nose, just like that. See how you can make them look at each other like that? Again. There. Put his eyelids in. And Jerry's mouth is a lot smaller, where Jimmy's got this big, wide grin. Jerry's mouth is usually just a little smile like that. He doesn't usually talk as much as his brother either. And again, put his stem on top, curve inward, and a little curved line on top. It's almost like a little hat. And a couple of little lines inside to give that ridged stem quality. Now to make them look like they're sitting together, not just floating in space here, let's put a line behind them, like a horizon, or actually it could be like they're sitting on the countertop. But don't make it right underneath them, because that makes them look like they're sitting on a string or a trapeze wire or something. Come out halfway up and put it behind them. Make it look like they're really in front. Now the trick is making sure these lines go all the way across and match, that you don't put it too high or too low. So kind of draw it, lift your pencil, and put it back down. Same thing on this side. There. And as always, we can put a little shadow underneath them. Draw those oval, that flattened oval just like before, and shade it in. There. Wasn't so hard after all, right? All right, if you remember, Jimmy Gourd was in a show called Dr. Jiggle and Mr. Sly, where he changed his shape a lot. He was also wearing a costume too. So now we're going to let Joseph Poulet show us how he draws Jimmy Gourd as Mr. Sly.
So we're going to start out with a grayscale marker so that I can do a very loose drawing that I can use as a basis to do my finished drawing, which is going to be with a black, very thick marker. So this is the marker that we're going to use to really commit to the drawing, and this is the one we're going to use to sketch it in. So we're going to draw Mr. Sly. Now first we're going to get a nice body shape in there. And if you look at my body shape, a lot of people stand straight and some have attitude when they stand. And what we want to do is show that there's a little bit of attitude in Mr. Sly and his character. So we're going to try to commit to that right now. He has a little body shape like that. And we're going to add in just basically where his body is. And just the basic shape. See how loose that is? We're just kind of getting an idea of where his eyes are going to be. And his nose. And then we're going to give him big, funky Elton John glasses. Very large glasses because he's trying to be really hip and cool. We're going to put his mouth in pretty much right there. So we know where our character's mouths go, so we want to commit to that right away. And then we're going to give him kind of a John Travolta type shirt where it's opened up a little bit. You see his chest, and he's going to have some, like a little chain, neck chain on there. And we're going to give him a very big collar coming out. And the Saturday Night Fever John Travolta white suit with some gold buttons there. So now that's pretty nice. We have the character kind of in there. And now, since we have this vertical shape, we need to balance that out with some sort of a circular shape up here. So we're going to give him a funky hairdo. Funkadelic. Just like that. So now let's look at the entire silhouette of our character, and it's looking pretty good right now. Has a nice balance to it, nice shape to it. So we have it all sketched in. We kind of like how it is. So now we're going to commit to this drawing and really go in there with the thick black marker and really noodle it out. So we're going to start out at the focal point of our character, which are the eyeballs. which is basically 2 ovals. And we're going to fill it in, just a little highlight up there. And we're going to say that the light source is coming from here, so the highlights are right up on top there. And then we're going to we're going to draw first what's going to be over the eyes, which is going to be the glasses. But the nose is actually in front of the glasses, so we're going to draw the nose first and commit to that. That looks pretty good. We're going to draw in the glasses. Which are 2 circles. We're going to put some sequence in those too to really make them stand out. Remember, this is just an idea sketch, trying to get the overall feel of the character. So now we're going to put the eyeballs in. And we're going to commit to the hair. Hair's looking pretty good, so I like that. Be very, very free with your marker work. Don't be afraid to make it so perfect, because you're going to start to lose the feeling of the character. Now get that body in there. Really commit to that. That looks pretty good. You're going to give him a cute little smile. And we're going to fill that in with your black marker any way you want to, really. Just fill that in. And it doesn't have to be perfect, because if it's too perfect, you start to lose some of the feel to the whole thing. Now you have to be very careful. A lot of students try to keep everything symmetrical as they're drawing, and we're not going to do that with this. We're going to make his collar come out a little bit more on this side and make it different on this side. So it's not the same. And that really adds so much to the overall drawing. You see how this line comes down here, but this line is going to go a little bit differently. Just so it's a little different. And now his white John Travolta suit. And his buttons. And we're going to finish off his body there. And put a little oval down here so it looks like he's actually standing on the ground. And then we're going to put in his chain. And I'm going to fill in his head area right in here. And all we have to do now is fill in some dark for his hair. And we have Mr. Sly.
Now let's move into some shapes that aren't so round, things like squares and rectangles and triangles.
No, wait, hold on. How to draw me, how to draw me, how to draw me. What about ovals?
Larry, we just finished doing ovals. Where were you?
I was becoming more ovalish.
You already are an oval.
Oh, great. Now you tell me.
Anyway, like I was saying, let's move on to shapes that aren't so round, things like squares, rectangles, and triangles. Now, 2 favorite characters around here are Junior Asparagus and Laura Carrot. Now, Junior and Laura are best friends. Even when they don't get along, they always end up forgiving each other. You'll see, too, how they can really change their emotion, not just from their eyes and mouth, like their expression, but also their posture. That means how they're standing. All right? So let's draw Junior and Laura. Okay, let's start with Junior. Over here on this side of the paper, not in the middle. We're going to draw him right here, kind of big. And like I said, we're working with squares, triangles, things like that. So very lightly, let's draw kind of a square that's slanted, a little rectangle-ish. It's slanted. I kind of have to find my place on the page here. There we go. That's a good size for Junior's body. And make him slanted a little bit, because that's some of the emotion we're talking about. Now on top, he's got that little kind of a circle with a point. See that? Okay, and right, he's got 2 eyes, of course. We're going to put one off to the side, just like this, and one right next to it, because he's turned his head just a little bit. Okay, right in the middle is put his nose. He's got a little button nose. Now, Junior's mouth is usually off to the side. So it's like a little U-shaped little smile. We're going to have his mouth open. So make it Really big, like a little U and a big U right there. See that? And you can color his mouth in and make it open, but I'm gonna draw his teeth. He's smiling real big like that. Okay, I'm gonna get a little more detail here. Let's draw the pupils of his eyes. He's gonna be looking over in this direction. Almost, I'm standing here, he's kind of looking toward me. But actually he's gonna be looking off to the side of him. So let's draw this oval shape here off to the side in the same place in this eye. See? Let's draw real skinny ovals too. Of course, like I always do, leave the highlight. Gives him that little spark. There, now darken around his eyes. Put a little bit of eyelid in there, but I have his eyes open really wide because he's really excited. And notice how it's slanted back. That helps him give him the emotion we were talking about, like he's leaning back. Made him a little fat here. I'm going to bring that in just a little. Maybe even just a little bit taller. There, that feels more like Junior. But I'm going to use that line for the bottom of his shirt, see? Get a little bit of curve because he's rounded. And the top of his shirt comes right here. Don't let it meet in the middle here. Put a little V, just like that. And then off to the side, put kind of these long triangles pointed down. And that's the collar to his shirt. And then his foot down here. It's not really a foot, it's just the end of his body, but we call it his foot. There. And there's Junior. But of course he needs a little texture on the end of his asparagus spear. So just kind of draw some half circles in there. Let them overlap a little bit. Make them nice and big, following that big pointed circle shape we made, just like that. There, that's Junior. Now, of course, we made him very happy and looking somewhere. It's a little tricky. We're gonna have him looking at Laura over here. She's gonna be a little further away, so she's gonna be a little bit smaller, not so big. We're gonna draw her about this big over here. So not all the way on the edge of the paper, not in the middle, somewhere in the, just kind of off to the side here. She's basically a triangle shape. Not a perfect triangle like this, but kind of a skinny triangle. Don't make her too small. She's not that far away. Just kind of like this. And of course she narrows more at the top. There. She's about a little less than half the size of Junior, looks like there. Okay, got that triangle shape. It's kind of bends as it gets near the top. Laura's basically a triangle here, not a fat triangle like you're used, but very skinny and narrow. It almost gets, almost runs almost the same up. It doesn't slant in perfectly. Perfect triangle, goes up and then slants toward the end. Now don't draw these lines too dark up here because we're going to put her hair up there later. Right here, let's go ahead and draw her eyes. Big, round, egg-shaped eyes. Not too near the top. And a little off to the side because she's turned too. You see that? And she also has a little bitty nose. Now make her eyes near the bottom because she's going to be looking down here at Junior. It kind of looks like she's floating in space, but she's not. We'll get to that, don't worry. There. And Laura's got a nice big smile. Her mouth is usually right in the center. How Junior's, remember Junior's is off to the side? Laura's is usually right in the middle. Give her a big toothy grin there too. And 3 little dots on each cheek for her freckles. And she usually wears a little dress. So let's put this curved line here to show how it wraps around. And then comes down the side and a little bit wider than her body. Flares out. And then you can put a collar, which is like these little loops, just like that. If you want to draw some little flowers on it like that. 3 little flowers. That gives her a nice little dress. Now Laura has bangs in front. So she's got this straight line where her bangs go right over her eyes. And this upside down U goes on top where, and she's got usually has a little hair band right there. So do the U of her hair, and then one right over it. And see how it looks like a little hairband tucked in there? And her hair is combed back in the back, and she's got pigtails. Now they're not braided, so they're a little easier to draw than braids. They're like little ovals, like little, one right there, another one off that, and then the end, which is like a little triangle with a raggedy end there. You can put little ribbons in it too. See how I'm doing that? Just these little curved lines in there. And the other pigtail comes off this side. Now it overlaps, so we draw it behind her bangs and her eye. See how that? You don't draw the whole thing. It wraps around behind. Another section right there, a little bit smaller. And then that triangle shape near the bottom. You can make it a raggedy end there. Or here it comes off. There, see? So it's basically a triangle shape and a square with a circle on top of it. Now I said, you know, she looks kind of floating, so we don't want that. So we're going to draw the horizon behind her. So it makes them look like they're kind of standing down the street from each other. See? Just like that. And they're happy to see each other. They're standing up straight. They're giving a little slant to it. It makes them look kind of excited because they're seeing their friend here. In fact, if you wanted to put the sidewalk they're standing on, let's draw this line straight to here. Don't let it run right into Junior. That might look bad. Continue it on that side. And this on this side is almost goes straight down. See, it's how it gets wider near us because it's closer. There, and there we have Junior and Laura standing on the sidewalk. All right, now let's take a look at how some of our other artists draw with these same shapes. And you follow at home too, okay? Now here's a guy you don't see too often. He's Franken Celery. If you look closely, you'll see that he's pretty much just a big rectangle. Now let's go back to Greg Harden as he teaches the finer points of this guy.
So we start with a really tall rectangle. And then try to find about where the halfway mark is on him. Should be about there. And you're going to know that his eyes and his nose and pretty much all of his face is going to be above the halfway mark. So draw his first eye, pretty big. And then he's got this really long, skinny, bulbous nose. And then his other eye is a lot smaller than the first eye, so it's only like this big. And then draw his pupils. And then put a bit of a curve into his back. And then again on his front. And then these are kind of his legs, I guess you could call them. That's why we put the curve in here. So it kind of looks like a leg here and kind of like one here. And then we'll give him his smile. Okay, now let's go ahead and give him his Frankenstein hair. And of course he's got to have his bolts. And give him some eyelids. And his monobrow. Okay, from here we can pretty much start coloring in. Put a highlight in his eye. Erase the middle mark. It's not supposed to be there. And anywhere else you think you might want to get rid of. And we got Franken Celery.
That was a fun one to do, wasn't it? Now let's take a look at Scallion number 1 as a salesman from Madame Blueberry. He's been around a long time, even though he still doesn't have a name. But he's so skinny, he looks like he's made out of all straight lines. But if you look closely, everything's just a little bit curved. So watch closely, follow along as Tom Owens leads you in drawing him.
These guys are tall and thin. They're basically like green onions. at the top of their head, we divide them up into 3 stalks of different heights to make it kind of interesting. We don't want them all to be the same exact height or shape. Then they kind of drop down real long and thin. Somewhere a little above the center, we'll draw their eye line and their nose. Their noses are kind of long ovals. These guys' eyes are actually bigger than their face, so they kind of hang off to the side like this and would draw kind of egg shapes. And then draw his eyelids and his pupils. Then under that, I'll kind of double this line up and make his lower eyelid. Above his eyes, we'll draw like where his hat sits, just a line indicating that the hat is sitting around this point. And then he's got a flat-brimmed hat that we'll draw around there, and then the top of the hat that his stalks are sticking through. And then double that line up and color it in for his hat band. And these guys are kind of sneaky, so we'll draw him smiling kind of out of the side of his mouth. Just under their mouth, we'll do another line, and this is where their neckline is going to be. So I'm going to start by putting in their bow tie. And then if you figure that the center of the front of the guy is where everything is going to come to, draw kind of a line down here, and then everything points to it. This is the neckline of the jacket. Up in here, we'll put like a button, and then the collar that wraps around his body for his jacket. Drop that down just a little bit wider than his body to indicate that it's got some thickness. And then the jacket has a plaid pattern on it, so we'll just kind of do a checkerboard pattern on it and double up this line down here, indicating that like his shirt is hanging out from under his jacket. And then down the center, we'll add 3 buttons. And there you have the salesman.
President Tim and the kids are here, along with the artist from Big Idea. Grab a pencil and piece of paper, draw something square for the refrigerator. How to draw me, how to draw me, how to draw me.
No. Anyway, let's continue with another guy that's made out of totally straight lines. Kind of straight. Actually, he's made out of a bunch of different shapes. It's Paly from Larry's Lagoon. Let's watch as Greg shows us how to draw him.
We'll start off with the trunk of the tree right in the middle of your paper. Kind of give it a bit of a curve so it's a little more interesting than just a straight up tree trunk. Kind of cap it off, and then about 3/4 of the way up, you're going to go ahead and draw 2 circles for his eyes. Go ahead and give him his nose, and the pupils in his eyes, looking straight out at us. And we'll give him a big happy smile. Let's put the eyelids. Okay, now for his leaves, it's kind of going to be like his hair. We're going to start off in the middle of this would be like the top of his head, and we'll start going out like this, and we'll kind of just imagine how each of these leaves kind of spreads out from the middle of his head, kind of all these different directions. And then we'll start in the middle, and we'll draw one coming towards us, because a leaf from a side view kind of looks like this. But we're going to draw the point of it coming towards us right here. And then we'll draw another one going off like this. And another one right there. And then this one will kind of fall back behind. It would even kind of curve down back behind a little bit there. And another one going like that. Do some in the back. And if you think about how the leaves go dimensionally, they kind of go back here and they hide behind these 2 leaves in the front. And they come in the back. This will do the same. Kind of see it pop through the back. And we'll put another one there. So now we put the leaves on the tree. Try to spread them out so that they're not equally spaced. Then you can go ahead and put some of the rings on the tree if you want, on the palm tree. Put highlights in his eyes. Go ahead and darken his eyes. And darken his mouth. And then I like to thicken up my line just to make it pop off of the page more and look better. And then don't forget to put the coconuts up here at the top of his head. And I think in the movie, they even have happy faces on them sometimes. You can do that if you want. You got Paly.
So, is everybody having fun so far?
Yes.
All right, you learning stuff? Okay. Hey, before we go on, let's take a minute and let's look at some of the stuff you've been working on, okay? Okay, let's see how you guys did. Wow, Asia, that looks great. I like you putting the treehouse in the background too. So, what was your favorite part? What do you think you did best on that?
My favorite part was the lips and the eyes.
Lips and the eyes. It looks like you had a lot of fun on the lips. Very, very fashion-oriented. What about you, Allie?
The lips and the eyes.
Lips and the eyes too. Are you putting your treehouse in there too?
Yeah.
Great, good idea. I think you had a lot of fun doing her jewel up there too. I think you like jewelry, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay, Glenn. Oh, this is great. So what do you think is your favorite part about this? What do you think you did best on this drawing?
The eyes.
The eyes? Yeah, I think so too. They got a lot of expression to them. Okay, Abby, what about yours? What do you think you did best on that?
The shadows and the circle.
Yeah, I think you're right. I really like what you did with the shading on him too, especially around the edge. Put in some extra. That looks real nice. I like the countertop you did too. Okay, let's check on these guys. So what do you think you did best on this?
The eyes.
The eyes? Yeah, did a lot of expression there, I can tell. It's very good. It's fun doing different expressions, isn't it? Mm-hmm. That's fun. Whenever you do a different drawing, try to see what else you can do with the eyes and make different expressions by putting the eyes higher or lower or what. What about you, Matthew? What was your favorite part on your drawing?
I like the eyes also.
The eyes? Yeah, I think the eyes are a lot of fun on her just because they are different than what we normally do because she's got a different attitude. Good job, guys. All right, then. Now we're going to take some of these shapes and put them all together to draw some characters. Now let's take a look at Queen Esther. All right, let's look at it for a second. Now, what kind of shapes do you see here? Anything?
Like an oval. It kind of looks like an oval for her head.
Yeah, an oval in her head. Anybody else see something?
I see an S shape for her hair.
What do you see, Abby? What kind of shapes do you?
There's a rectangle on her waist.
Yeah, the rectangle over here, kind of the waistband here. What about you, Brent? You see some shape?
The S curve on her skirt.
Yeah, this S curve that runs down there. Very good. Somebody say triangle? Yeah, this collar shape is kind of a triangle. Now remember these shapes because we're going to watch Tom Owens as he's going to show us how to draw her step by step. All right?
Queen Esther is kind of tall and thin and more or less like a spoon shape. She's got like a tall round shape for her head, and then it gets narrow at her neck and it drops down into a slightly wider bottom. Now for her face, I'll draw like the center line. We'll put her nose, place her nose right there. And then her eyes are oval shapes on either side of the nose and just above the center line. So we'll draw those ovals and then put her pupils in there. A couple of eyelashes. Make the pupils real dark and then shade the rest of it just a little bit. Then under her nose, we'll draw her mouth. And then draw her hair. She's got like a high part, kind of draw a V shape above her head. And then the hair comes down around her face. On this side over here, there's one piece of hair that always hangs in front of her face, so we'll make sure to get that in there. Then draw like around the back where the hair hangs too. And then draw these kind of long S shapes up to the points. Indicate where the hair wraps around the face on that side, and then draw the face. Then do her eyebrows just above her eyes. And then you just see the top, very top of her crown. So we'll put like a little circle indicating like a jewel or something in the front. And the top of the crown's got a couple of hooks on it. And wrap that around into her hair. And then shade her hair. And then down at her neck, we'll draw her neckline. And she's got like, kind of like shoulders and a chest plate that hangs down sort of half of a circle shape. So we draw our shoulders in this semicircle. And this thing has like a leaf pattern on it. So we'll just do this pattern all over it. Then just under that point, we'll draw, her body comes a little bit out from under the shoulders. It narrows, and then there's a ribbon that goes around the center of her dress. So we'll draw that, and then the dress hangs down almost all the way to her bottom, and it's of course wider than her body, so indicate that her body's out from under the dress. And then from the back on either side, there are ribbons that come around to a point in the front that put a knot there, and then they kind of hang down like that. And there you have Esther.
So she's pretty complicated, huh? But a little easier when you break it down into basic shapes, right? Okay, well, I've got a surprise for you. How would you like to see a totally new VeggieTales character? Yeah?
Yeah. Sure.
Okay, well, here she is. She's another princess. Her name's Sweet Sweet Petunia, but we call her Petunia for short. She's a rhubarb, and she's a star of our new show, Princess and the Pie War. Now, she looks kind of complicated too, but if you break her down, she does a lot of simple shapes, like a circle on her head, big triangle here for her body, and of course, circle eyes like that. It's easy as anything else we've done. It just takes a little more time. You ready? We'll just put them all together. Okay, so let's start out over here, just same as always. We're going to start with her head. Her head is kind of a circle-ish, just like that. And put it a little off center because the rest of her body is going to come down this way a little bit. Not too near the top, so we have room for her hairdo. And we're not going to draw her straight on. She's standing a little off to the side. And her body, come down here. It's kind of a slanted triangle, not perfectly straight. It's these two kind of curvy shapes. And she's wearing a kind of a closed-in dresses. She's from the kingdom of rhubarb. A very fun clothes, kind of Middle Eastern, Turkish kind of mixed feel. And her foot area comes out the bottom like this. She's a rhubarb. At the end of a rhubarb stalk, it's kind of shaped like a piece of celery. So we have two straight lines here, then curve up there. Now rhubarb has a big leaf on top of the stalk, but instead of giving Petunia a big leaf, we're giving her a nice big hairdo. This beautiful red hair, kind of parts in the middle and wraps around on either side. Just like that. Comes down in front. Think of this all on just kind of those S curves we've been drawing the whole time. That side and this. And see how the one on the bottom here, it just kind of goes out the side of the area where we did her head, and that way it makes it look like her hair is wrapped around the back. She's got it parted in the middle, and you can put a little bit of hair on top too. She's kind of got it pulled back on top. On either side, we gave her little earrings. They're like two pearls stacked, a big one and a little one, just simple circles. She's got a nice chin there. Now right in the middle of her head's turned so the middle is off to the side. Draw a little line to give her place. She's got eyes that aren't tall. They aren't tall egg shapes. They're almost circles, but they're a little bit wider. See that? And like Madame Blueberry, she's got just a simple eyelash like that. Not too low. We don't want her to look bored like we did with Madame Blueberry earlier. This is nice S shape for her eyelashes. There are her eyelids there. I'm gonna make her looking right at us, so this pupil goes right in the middle of that eye, and this one goes off to the side. since her head is turned a little bit. See? She's got a little upturned nose here. I just make it kind of this backwards C shape like that. And she's got lips kind of like Madame Blueberry, just like we drew before, remember? Of that M shape for her mouth line. But this time let it curl up on the ends just a little bit. Gives her a little bit of a smile. We do her top lip, which is an M, like that. And her bottom lip is a U. There. Now behind her head, she's got a ponytail. Remember that when I showed you the model there? Her ponytail is going to come out to the side, and it's braided. Braids can get rather complicated to draw, so we're going to simplify it a little bit. Draw a kind of a C shape there. Actually, it might be easier just to draw some really light circles like that. It's kind of, if you drew a line through the middle, it'd be kind of curved. So kind of stack them off to the side. This top one's going behind her neck a little bit. And now darken it on either side. Don't draw it closed, and that way it gives it a feel like it's folding over itself and kind of stacked. And you can draw little lines in the middle to make it feel like the hair is folded over and braided. Okay? And at the end of this last circle, it's a little hair band to tie it off. And then her hair comes off the end, and it's like a circle with a point on it. So at the end of her ponytail curls up like that. Okay, I've gotten that line kind of dark, and I don't want it to be the most important thing, so let's darken everything else just a little bit more so it comes out in front. The darker something is, the more importance you give it, the more attention it wants. You want people looking at what you want them to look at. So let's make her eyes even the darkest part, so people look at her eyes first. There. Got that? Now see, that was a ponytail. It was kind of hard, kind of complicated, but we did it all right. Now let's put her dress on. Right on her neck, right under her chin. This little curved shape like that, just barely curved. It almost looks straight, but let it curve up and back around. See, it goes right behind her neck there, because the collar is just a little bit loose. And see, halfway is about right here. Come up halfway, but above the halfway mark where her belt is. We'll put this is where her belt will be, right in the middle. You see the bottom of her belt is just a little over halfway up. It's kind of a wide sash, kind of a wrap where it goes around. And the top part of her dress comes off in front where it's a little blousy. And then right underneath the collar line, let's put this little, the decoration on it. So this part where it kind of has a little lace up in the front. There. Nice border. And to make this feel like this is a sash that's wrapped around, you can put a couple lines on it that are curved. One like that, and then one like that to intersect it to make it feel like it's like a silk scarf wrapped around her waist. And the skirt, let's even make it a little bit bigger than I drew. That's one thing why you want to draw light, so in case you change your mind, I'll make that just a little bigger, a little blousier. And this has a part that wraps around like this real shallow S curve like that, and then back around this side too. So it's got two different parts. And then along the bottom, draw these little diamond shapes. It's like two triangles stacked on top of each other, that way and that way without the line in the middle. It's like these little sequins that run down the bottom of her dress. And one stuck in behind there. See that? Feels like it's wrapped around on the other side. There you go. And you can put a ground plane in there. There you go. All right. Does anybody know what perspective is? No, not at all? Well, simply put, perspective is a way to draw things that look closer or farther away on a flat piece of paper. Let me show you. Look at this. Now you see how the end that's closer to you looks a lot bigger, and the end that's farther away looks smaller? Well, that's all part of perspective. And the reason I'm showing you this is next, we're going to draw the Larry plane. Now the Larry plane is always in action, and one good way to show dramatic action is with perspective. Now let's watch closely and follow along with Joseph Pulich as he shows us how to draw the Larry plane.
This airplane, or this Larry Boy Mobile, is going to be coming out at you. So we're going to start from this point to that point, just like that. And we're going to sketch in some of these lines so that right now we have really 3 lines. This is your middle point, your middle line, and now the perspective lines. And these lines are all going to go up to a point and meet in space up there. So they all go to a point right up here. And that kind of starts to show that there's perspective. As the plane is coming closer to you, it's bigger, it's larger. And as it goes farther away, it starts to get smaller. So right now we've already shown that we're going to have some perspective in this. So we also, since we have the perspective lines for here, we have to kind of figure out where the perspective is going to be coming from on this line too. So we're going to just start to indicate that here with our grayscale marker. So now we have kind of a nice idea of where our perspective is actually going. These lines going this way, these lines are all going to a point in space that meet over here. Now we're going to start with the probably this area right here, which is the cockpit. And the hood of the Larry Boy Mobile. It's indicated this way. Very loose. We're just indicating where this stuff is going to probably be, but we're not committing to it right now. And you can hold your pen this way if you would like to, and just sketch very loosely like this, or you could hold it like you're actually going to print or write something out. We're going to indicate the tail, and we're going to make sure that our wheels are actually in perspective. So we draw our lines in like that. And these are plunger cups for wheels. We thought that'd be really funny, kind of taking what was on his character already. Now I could step back a little bit and take a look at this. That's the Larry Boy Mobile. That looks pretty cool, but we have to adjust this to actually make it look like the airplane. So we're going to get rid of the plunger wheels, and we're going to add where that wing would actually come out. And make sure that we're following that into perspective. So I indicated the tires, the plungers, so that you kind of have an idea of how we actually design things. Because the first thing was the Larry Boy Mobile. And we're going to indicate that the wings come out like that. So we're going to have those markings in there. So now we have a very nice loose grayscale drawing of what this mechanism, this machine is going to look like. Now we can finally commit to it. We also know that as we build this in the computer, we have enough space for the wheels to pop off and have these wings come out. So that's why they're sketched in this idea sketch. So let's start to clean this up now and really define the areas that we want to keep in this drawing. Looks pretty good. And we're going to indicate the tail. Now here's a little trick to show you. To show that these wings are actually coming out of the body, we're going to cut into the body a little bit. So it really shows from that silhouette that it's cutting into the body. And don't forget the plunger way back here. And we're going to make sure that we mirror this to this. And now we're going to back away from this, take a look at it. It's starting to look pretty good. Add a little bit detail up here. We're going to show that there's a little chrome action going on. So we're adding a little detail. And come back in here. Put some shading in there as well. And take another look at it and just really define our outline. And since we sketched those out, we do know that we have enough room for those tires to fall out and the wings to come out. And we have the plane.
Speaking of the Larry plane, where is Larry? Larry? Oh, Larry? Larry, where'd you go, Larry? Larry, there you are. What's going on? What's with the cowboy getup?
I'm a-hitting the trail, Tim. I'm giving up and riding off into the sunset with all the little doggies. Nobody wants to draw me anyway. Happy trails, partner. Good luck with the rest of the show.
Hey, wait a minute, Larry. That gives me an idea.
Are you going to give up too?
No, Larry. But look at you.
What?
You have all kinds of different shapes all over you. That's exactly what I'm trying to show the kids right now. You're perfect.
I am?
Hey, kids, what do you say we draw Larry now?
How to draw me? How to draw me? Oh, how to draw me? Sing it with me now.
Hey, Larry.
Oh, how to draw me?
Larry.
Yeah. How to draw me?
Anyway, let me show you the time I drew him before. First thing you want to do is know where on the paper you're going to draw, because you don't want to start really, really big and run out of room. So let's start drawing Larry's basic body shape, because of course Larry did play the part of Little Joe. And Larry is shaped kind of like a cucumber. So let's make this nice big cucumber shape here. It's kind of almost like a hot dog shape. Draw light at first, because some of these lines are going to get covered up later. So once we finish this, you can back the DVD up and do it one more time. So get a nice loose line here. And we're going to put his face over to the side. It's a little more interesting when he's kind of turned. So I'm going to draw this kind of a guideline down the middle of his face. And you see a lot of artists do that, and some of you may wonder why. Well, that's the middle line of Larry's head, and it helps you find out where his eyes are going to go. Now, it's curved because it's slanted, because he's a round object. It's like this dodgeball. You see, I have a straight line on there, but if we turn it in space, look, that line becomes curved. Straight, curved. It's called perspective. It's the same thing right here. This line is the one that runs straight down the middle of his head. And we know that his eyes sit fairly near the top, not too near. And his eyes are these big, kind of white egg shapes. So we'll draw this little oval shape here. And here, get loose. Nice big egg. Now this eye, since he's turned, just like this, Larry, see, when you turn him, one eye gets a little bit in front of the other. That's how we show it's closer. See, there they'd be side by side. Here, one is in front of the other one. So to make something look like it's behind, you just don't draw the whole thing. See how it overlaps right here? And it's a little bit smaller. That's because, as you probably noticed, when things get further away, they get smaller. They look smaller. So his eye is just a little bit further away than this eye, so it's a little bit smaller. Now you notice too, I didn't draw this line all the way over here. We stopped short because that's where his nose goes. His nose is going to be just almost a perfect circle. Just like that, and it goes between them. And see how we draw that overlap? This one's in front of this one, in front of this one. It's one of those little drawing tricks. Now his pupils, the black spots in his eyes, are not circles like yours and mine are. They're ovals. And we'll draw another one here. Now this one's a little closer to the side. And before we color these in black, let's draw these little highlight marks. Draw a circle there inside it and a circle there. Now what that is, like I said, those are highlights. When the light's shining down on his face, it reflects. So it leaves a nice little white spot. And you can color the rest of it in black. Okay, now let's give Larry a big smile. Let's draw this little kind of a V shape here. You come down to, remember where I had this center line down here? If you kind of find the middle of it, that's where the lowest point of his mouth is going to be, where it comes down to that point and up on that side. And then for the other part of his mouth, this big U shape. Not too big. His mouth doesn't open too wide. It's a nice big U. Now he's got a wide open mouth, but of course Larry can't open his mouth without seeing his tooth. Now let's not put the tooth right in the middle. Again, he's turned sideways, so it's a little bit to the side. And his tooth I like to make it a little narrower at the bottom. So there's his tooth, just 3 sides. 1, 2, 3, just like that. And now you can color in his mouth. Just fill it in like that. Make sure your lines are all in place. Now see that? That's Larry. But of course Larry's playing Little Joe in this show, right? So we have to give him cowboy clothes. A cowboy hat is one of the hardest hats to draw. But let's try it anyway. The part where the hat wraps around his head, very lightly draw a curved line right around there, very lightly. We'll make it darker a little bit later, but right now, make it kind of light, okay? And it's the same thing. Just like this straight line here, it's that curved line that's going around his head. If I did it straight, it would look like he's perfectly lined up with to the paper, and we want him a little bit turned. So that's perspective, a little curved line here. And now for the brim, we're going to draw kind of a big figure 8 right through here on its side, kind of a sideways 8. Start up here by his head, near the top, and draw a big figure 8. Now it's bigger on this side because the back of the cowboy hat is bigger, and this goes behind him. Now if we continued this, you'd see the line went all the way back up here again. But let's not draw that because that's behind his head. And go ahead and make this line a little bit darker. Just go ahead and darken that in like that. Okay, now there's Larry with a big figure 8 sitting on his head, and it doesn't look like a cowboy hat yet, does it? Nope, he needs the top of it, the bowl of the hat. Now the bowl is, we'll make it with this curved line this way, not too tall. It's not a 10-gallon hat. and another one on this side, not quite as tall. It's shaped kind of like that big silo in the show, where it's a big round thing. So we start up on the top. This hat is not a straight line across. We're going to have a lot of twists and turns in here. Start off with a little curve like that, curve up, and make this big dip, big U shape. And that's the center of the hat right there. And then a little bit longer curved shape this way, and then kind of go backwards from that curve up, and then back in like that. And now we have the basic shape of his cowboy hat. This is more like the style that he was wearing at the beginning of the show, when he first came out. And sometimes there's this little dent right there, so you can put kind of a little comma, backwards comma in there to show that the hat dips in. And of course he has to have the band on his cowboy hat. So just draw another line, curved line. It runs just like this one. It runs right next to it. So there's Larry in his cowboy hat. But he's not just wearing a cowboy hat. He's got his kerchief on and wraps around his neck. And just like this line was curving up, down here, we're going to let it curve down. It's that same curved line like I showed you on the dodgeball. Just do a light line here to show you roughly where it goes. Now let's put the knot, because he ties it in front. The knot is over here on the side. And the knot is going to be kind of a diamond shape, like this. All made out of curved lines like this. Just like that. See that? And then you can draw another curved line in the middle to make it feel like that's where the knot happened. And then let's make this line a little more solid here. Wraps around this side. And it goes a little bit wider because it's bunched in the middle. Now here's the tricky part. You make this line don't go all the way to the edge here, or make it go just to the edge of his body line, and bring the back of the kerchief a little bit higher. Because see how it makes it feel like it's wrapped around him? Just like that. And then we do the same thing on this side. It's curved lines, right like this, curving up, following the curve of his body. And again, go a little bit wider than his body line is. And just wrap it around like that. Now we have the tassels that kind of fall down where he tied it in a knot and left the tassels hang. This first tassel, we're going to make it one simple curved line like that. The other side, it's kind of an S. See, it's just got a little bit of an S shape to it. And again, just a little wrinkle in there. And the same thing on this side, only backwards from the other side. And let it overlap. Get it behind there. Don't draw the lines behind it. Let it go right up to that. And it feels like it's behind the other one. And make it a little bit longer. It's kind of more interesting to look at when one side's a little bit longer than the other. Before we're done, let's go ahead and shade in his hat. Take your pencil on its side and just lightly color. We're not drawing lines, we're kind of coloring it in. You might have to go a little slower at first, but just using the side of your pencil, color that in. Now let's leave the band white. Just color that in with the side of your pencil there. And if you're using a black pencil, that makes it kind of gray, doesn't it? Let's do the same thing with this kerchief. And one thing that'll help too, let's draw the stretched out oval right underneath him and a little bit on this side. And you know what that's going to be? That's going to be the shadow, where the sun's shining on him and his hat casts this big shadow down the ground. And that'll make it feel like he's really sitting there and not floating around in space or anything. There you go, and even put the horizon line back there. And there is little Joe on the lone prairie. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Did you guys have fun?
Yeah.
All right, how about you, Larry?
Draw me now, how to draw me.
Now remember, kids, if you want to get better, you've got to draw a little bit every day. But that's not so hard because drawing's fun, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, see you next time.
Wait, Tim,
Yeah, Larry?
you make a great president of Sparflov. I think I made the right choice.
Thanks, Larry.
To show my appreciation, I want you to have this.
Hey, look, my very own Sparf hat.
That's Sparflov.
Oh, right, Sparflov. Thanks.
You're welcome. And thanks, kids. You did great.
Thanks, Larry.
Yeah, thanks for drawing along with us, Larry.
Bye.
Well, first of all, you're going to need some paper to draw on. Now, nothing too small or too slick, just some printer from your paper. Some printer from your paper might work. Well, first of all, you're going to need paper to draw on. Now, don't get anything too small or too slick. In fact, dadgummit. Printer from your paper. Printer paper will work fine. Well, this time, my friend Greg Hardin's going to show us how to draw the little monsters from the very first VeggieTales show. Now, you remember how these little guys had Junior really worried till he...
Okay, that's okay.
You said stow. You said stow.
I said stow?
Yeah.
Yeah, you did. You said stow. He's right.
Stow.
So give me a little more hand to read, but we'll do it again tomorrow
Okay.
too. And it's to the kids, obviously.
Hey, kids! Let's put on a show! Now, the reason I'm showing you this is next, we're going to draw the Larry plane. Stay back here. Larry plane!
And still rolling.
Well, that's all part of perspective. And the reason I'm showing you this is next, we're going to draw the Larry plane. Did I look too maniacal?
Sinister at the end.
The Larry plane! We're going to draw the Larry plane. You will draw.
1 minute.
I'm just as good as I thought I was.